Ganji Badavad, one of the most fabled treasures in Persian history, is steeped in legend and shrouded in mystery. Said to be one of the 8 treasures of Khosrow II, the last great king of the Sasanian Empire. It embodies the grandeur and opulence of a bygone era. Khosrow II, also known as Khosrow Parviz, reigned from 590 to 628 AD and presided over a period of significant territorial expansion and cultural flourishing. His reign, however, also marked the twilight of the Sasanian dynasty, as it came to an abrupt end during the Islamic conquest of Persia. Ganji Badavad, translated as Treasure of Gifts, is believed to be a vast collection of riches, including gold, silver, precious jewels, and priceless artifacts. These treasures were accumulated through various means: tributes from vassal states, spoils of war, and immense wealth generated by the prosperous Sasanian economy. The treasure reportedly included items of immense historical and cultural value, such as exquisite Persian carpets, intricately crafted jewelry, and ceremonial regalia used in royal rituals. The origins of Ganji Badavad are closely linked to the legends surrounding Khosrow II. He was known for his lavish court and opulent lifestyle, which were emblematic of his rule. His palace at Setespion, the capital of the Sasanian Empire, was a marvel of architecture and luxury. According to historical accounts, the palace was adorned with gold, silver, and precious stones, and its walls were covered with magnificent frescoes depicting scenes of royal hunts and banquets. The most famous of the treasures within Ganji Badavad was the Throne of Solomon, a legendary artifact said to be adorned with precious gems and unparalleled in its splendor. This throne symbolized the divine right of the king to rule and was considered a testament to the glory and power of the Sasanian Empire. Other notable items were the Carpet of Spring, an enormous rug woven with silk, gold, and precious stone, depicting a garden in full bloom. This carpet was a representation of paradise on earth and served as a reminder of the king's divine favor and prosperity of his reign. The fate of Ganji Badavad became uncertain following the fall of the Sasanian Empire. In 636 AD, the Sasanian forces were divisively defeated by the Rashidian Caliphate at the Battle of Al-Qadisiyah. This battle marked the beginning of the ends for the Sasanian Empire, leading to the capture of Ctesiphon and the subsequent looting of its treasures. Historical records suggest that the bulk of the Sasanian wealth, including Ganji Badavad, was taken by the victorious Arab forces. Despite the fall of Ctesiphon, the legend of Ganji Badavad endured. Some accounts suggest that parts of the treasure were hidden by local Sasanian courtiers to prevent them from falling into enemy hands. These treasures were said to be scattered across the former empire, buried in secret locations only known to a select few. Over the centuries, numerous attempts have been made to locate these hidden caches, but none have been successful. The allure of the Ganji Badavad lies not only in its material wealth, but also in its symbolic significance. It represents the zenith of the Sasanian culture and the empire's contribution to the world in terms of art, architecture, and governance. The treasures within the Ganji Badavad are a testament to the sophistication and refinement of Persian civilization during Khosrow II's reign. During modern times, the legend of the Ganji Badavad continues to captivate the imagination of historians, archaeologists, and treasure hunters. The possibility that some of these treasures might still be hidden somewhere in Iran or the surrounding regions fuels ongoing speculation and exploration. The search for Ganji Badavad is more than just a quest for riches. It is a journey into the heart of Persian history, seeking to uncover the remains of the glorious past. The legend of Ganji Badavad, whether viewed through the lens of history or legend, remains a powerful reminder of the Sasanian Empire's former glory. It underscores the enduring impact of Persian culture and the richness of its historical narrative. As long as the story of Khosrow II and his legendary treasure persists, the quest for the Ganji Badavad will continue to inspire and intrigue those who seek to unlock the secrets of one of history's great lost treasures. The heirloom seal of the realm, also known as the Imperial Seal of China, is one of the most significant artifacts in Chinese history, embodying the authority and continuity of the Chinese emperors. Its history is intertwined with the rise and fall of dynasties, political intrigue, and the profound cultural heritage of China. The seal was created during the reign of the first emperor of China, Qin Shi Huang, in 221 BC. Qin Shi Huang is renowned for unifying China, establishing the Qin dynasty, and commissioning the construction of the Great Wall. To symbolize his ultimate authority, he ordered the creation of the heirloom seal of the realm. The seal was carved from a piece of precious jade known as the Heshibi, which had a storied history of its own, having been offered to and fought over by various rulers before coming into possession of the Qin. The heirloom seal was not merely a symbol of imperial power, but also a tool of governance. It was used to authenticate decrees and etiquette, imbuing them with the weight of the emperor's authority. The seal's inscription, written in ancient Chinese script, reads, "Having received the mandate from heaven, may the emperor lead a long and prosperous life." This phrase underscores the traditional Chinese belief that the emperor's right to rule was divinely sanctioned, a concept known as the mandate of heaven. Throughout the centuries, the heirloom seal passed through the hands of numerous dynasties. Its possession was considered essential for the legitimacy of ruling an emperor. However, the seal's history is also marked by periods of loss and recovery, reflecting on the turbulent times that saw the rise and fall of various regimes. The first significant loss of the heirloom seal occurred during the chaotic period following the fall of the Qin dynasty. It was subsequently recovered and came into possession of the Han dynasty, which ruled from 206 BC to 220 AD. The seal remained with the Han emperors, symbolizing their divine right to rule and the continuity of their authority. After the fall of the Han dynasty, China entered a period of disunity known as the Three Kingdoms period. During this time, the heirloom seal became a coveted prize amongst the competing factions. It changed hands several times, often as part of political marriages or military conquests. The seal's whereabouts during this period are somewhat murky, but it is believed to have remained a potent symbol of imperial legitimacy. The seal's fate becomes even more uncertain during the tumultuous centuries that follow. The successive dynasties of the Jin, Southern and Northern, Su and Tang, all claim possession of the heirloom seal at various points, each using it to legitimize their rule. However, these records from these periods are incomplete, and it is unclear how continuously the seal was in imperial hands. The heirloom seal of the realm eventually found its way to the Song dynasty, which ruled from 960 AD to 1279 AD. The Song dynasty is known for its cultural and technological achievements, but it also faced constant threats from northern invaders. During the Jin-Song Wars, the seal was lost once again. The Jin dynasty, which ruled parts of northern China, claimed to have recovered it, but the Mongol invasion of the 13th century led to further disarray. By the time of the Yuan dynasty, founded by the Mongol leader Kublai Khan in 1271, the heirloom seal had become a legend. The Mongols, despite their conquest of China, did not seem to have recovered the seal. Its last recorded use was during the Northern Song dynasty, and its fate thereafter remains a mystery. The loss of the heirloom seal of the realm symbolizes the end of an era. It was not just a jade artifact, but a profound cultural symbol representing the continuity and divine right of China's emperors. Its disappearance marks the passing of a tangible link to the ancient past, a relic that once legitimized the rule of emperors who shaped the course of Chinese history. Today, the legend of the heirloom seal continues to captivate historians and treasure hunters alike. Its story is a poignant reminder of the fragility of human endeavors and the enduring allure of lost treasures. The seal's creation is used by successive dynasties, and its ultimate disappearance escalates the rise and fall of one of the world's most oldest and enduring civilizations. Gil Skallagrimsson, an iconic figure in Icelandic history, is renowned not only for his prowess as a warrior, but also for his exceptional skills as a poet. He lived during the Viking Age, around the 10th century, and his life and deeds are immortalized in the Icelandic sagas, particularly Egil's saga. Among the many tales surrounding Egil, one of the most intriguing is the legend about his hidden silver treasure. Egil was born around 910 AD in Borg, Iceland, to a family of Norse chieftains. His father, Skallagrimur Clöved Dufferson, was a formidable Viking and settler in Iceland. Egil's life was marked by a series of dramatic events, including family feuds, battles and voyages. Despite his often violent and turbulent life, Egil was a gifted poet. His poetry, known as Skaldic poetry, is considered some of the finest in Old Norse literature. The legend of Egil Silva centers around the later years of his life. According to the sagas, Egil amassed a significant amount of wealth during his lifetime through various means, including Viking raids, gifts from kings, and successful trade ventures. By the time he reached old age, Egil was a wealthy man. However, his wealth also brought him many enemies and made him a target for those seeking to claim his riches. As Egil grew older, he became increasingly reclusive and distrustful of those around him. Fearing that his wealth would be seized after his death, he decided to hide his silver. The sagas describe how, in his 80s, Egil went on a journey with 2 chests filled with silver. He travelled to a remote and undisclosed location in the Icelandic countryside, where he is said to have buried the chest. Egil took his secret to the grave, never revealing the exact location of the buried treasure. The story of Egil's hidden silver has captured the imagination of many over centuries. Treasure hunters and enthusiasts have speculated about the possible location of the buried chests, but no definitive evidence has ever been found. The search for Egil's silver remains one of Iceland's enduring mysteries, with various theories suggesting different areas near his ancestral home in Borg or other parts of Iceland he was known to frequent. Egil's motivation for hiding his treasure is rooted in the context of his life and the culture of his time. The Viking Age was a period of constant conflict and power struggles. Wealth was not only a measure of a person's success, but also a source of power and influence. By hiding his silver, Egil may have intended to protect it from potential usurpers and ensure that it did not fall into the hands of his enemies. However, the act of burying treasure was not uncommon amongst Vikings, who often concealed their wealth to safeguard it for future generations or anticipation of their own return. The saga of Egil Skallagrimson and his hidden silver also reflects the themes of loyalty, betrayal, and the transcendent nature of life and wealth. Egil's distrust of those around him, even in his old age, underscores the precariousness of his position and the volatile environment in which he lived. His decision to hide his wealth can be seen as a final act of defiance and control over his own fate. In Icelandic culture, Egil Skallagrimson is celebrated not only as a historical figure, but also as a cultural icon. His poetry is studied and admired for its emotional depth, complexity, and technical skill. The legend of his hidden silver adds another layer to his enigmatic persona, blending historical fact with myth and legend. It serves as a reminder of the rich and complex history of the Viking Age, a time when individuals like Egil navigated the world of violence, honor, and artistic expression. To this day, the tale of Egil Skallagrimson's silver continues to intrigue and inspire. It stands as a testament to the enduring legacy of one of Iceland's most fascinating figures, whose life and works have left an undeniable mark on the country's history and cultural heritage. The mystery of the buried treasure remains unsolved, a tantalizing clue to the past waiting to be discovered by future generations. Kusanagi, also known as Kusanagi no Tsurugi, is one of the most legendary and revered artifacts in Japanese mythology and history. As one of the 3 sacred treasures of Japan, Kusanagi symbolizes the legitimacy and divine authority of the Japanese emperor. The story of the Kusanagi is steeped in ancient mythology, blending history with legend, and its fate remains one of the most intriguing mysteries in Japanese cultural heritage. The origins of the Kusanagi are rooted in ancient Japanese texts like Kojikai, Records of Ancient Matters, and Nihon Shokai, Japanese Chronicles of Japan. According to these texts, the sword was originally known as Ami no Murakumo no Tsurugi, Sword of the Gathering Clouds of Heaven. It was discovered by the storm god Susanoo after he slew the monstrous serpent Ta no Orochi. The serpent had 8 heads and 8 tails, and inside one of its tails, Susanoo found the magnificent sword. He presented the sword to his sister, the sun goddess Amaterasu, as a gesture of reconciliation. Amaterasu soon bestowed the sword upon her grandson, Ningai no Mikoto, when she sent him to Earth to rule over Japan. This act linked the sword directly to the divine right of the Japanese imperial family. Over time, the sword became part of the imperial regalia, which also includes the mirror Yata no Kagami and the jewel Yasakani no Magatama. Together, these three items represent the imperial throne's legitimacy and are integral to the enthronement ceremonies of the Japanese emperor. The Kusanagi, meaning grass-cutting sword, emerged from a later legend involving the legendary prince Yamato Takori. According to the tale, Yamato Takori was given the sword by his aunt, Yamato Haimi, the high priestess of the Ise Shrine. During one of his military campaigns, Yamato Takori was lured into a grassy plain by his enemy, who then set the grass on fire in an attempt to kill him. Using the sword, Yamato Takori cut down the burning grass and created a fire break, saving his life. In gratitude, he renamed the sword Kusanagi. By its mythical origins, Kusanagi has been historically significant in Japanese culture. The sword was traditionally kept at Asuta Shrine in Nagoya, one of Japan's most important Shinto shrines. It is said that the sword was moved there during the reign of Emperor Sujin between 97 and 30 BC, and it remained there for centuries, enshrined and revered. The most mysterious episode in the history of the Kusanagi occurred during the Great Genpei Wars, which happened between 1180 and 1185, a conflict between Taira and Minamoto clans. In 1185, during the Battle of Dan no Ura, Taira clan, facing imminent defeat, attempted to escape with Emperor Antoku and the imperial regalia, including Kusanagi. According to the legend, Taira warriors, along with the young emperor and the treasure, leaped into the sea to avoid capture. Emperor Antoku drowned, and while the mirror and the jewel were recovered, Kusanagi was lost to the depths. The Japanese imperial family claims that the sword was later recovered, but no verifiable evidence has ever been presented. The current whereabouts of the Kusanagi are shrouded in secrecy, as the imperial regalia is not shown to the public, and its existence relies heavily on tradition and belief. The secrecy surrounding Kusanagi and other sacred treasures is deeply embedded in Japanese culture, adding to the aura and mystery and reverence. The significance of the Kusanagi extends beyond its mythical origins and historical narratives. It embodies the spiritual and cultural heritage of Japan, symbolizing the unbroken lineage of the imperial family and the divine connection to the gods. The sword's legendary powers and its role in key mythological events underscores the importance in the Shinoto religion and Japanese folklore. The legend of Kusanagi continues to captivate the imagination of both people in Japan and around the world. It represents a fascinating blend of history, mythology, and cultural identity. Despite its elusive nature, the story of Kusanagi endures a testament to the rich tapestry of Japanese tradition and the enduring allure of ancient relics that bridge the gap between mortal and the divine. The original crown jewels of England, also known as King John's crown jewel, represent a fascinating and tragic chapter in the history of English royalty. These treasures were part of the regalia used by monarchs for centuries until their mysterious loss in 1216. The story of the original crown jewels intertwines with the tumultuous reign of King John and the political upheavals of the time, leaving a legacy of an intrigue and speculation. King John, often remembered as one of England's most controversial and unpopular monarchs, ascended to the throne in 1199 following the death of his brother Richard the Lionheart. His reign was marked by a series of failures and conflicts, including the disputes with the English barons and loss of French territories, and his excommunication by the Pope. These challenges culminated in the signing of the Magna Carta in 1215, a document that sought to limit the king's powers and address the grievances of his subjects. In the midst of these troubles, King John faced rebellion by the English barons, who were dissatisfied by his rule. This rebellion led to the First Barons' War, a civil conflict that further weakened King John's position. In October 1216, as the war raged on, King John was travelling in East Anglia, a region plagued by marshlands and treacherous terrain. His journey took him along the old Roman road known as Fosse Way, which passed through the estuary known as the Wash, a large flat expanse of tidal mudflats and salt marshes in eastern England. It was during this perilous journey that disaster struck. According to the chronicles of the time, King John's baggage train, laden with the crown jewels and other valuables, attempted to cross the Wash. Accounts vary, but it is generally believed that the combination of high tides, treacherous quicksand, and the unwieldy nature of the baggage train led to its sinking and the loss of the treasure. The exact location and details of this misadventure remain unclear, but it is widely accepted that the crown jewels were lost in the murky waters of the Wash. The loss of the crown jewels was a significant blow to King John, both symbolically and materially. These treasures included the royal crown, scepters, orbs, swords, and other regalia used in coronation ceremony and royal functions. Their loss represented not only a financial setback, but also a profound symbolic defeat, further undermining John's already precarious position. King John died shortly thereafter, on October the 18th, 1216, possibly from dysentery, though some accounts suggest he may have been poisoned. His death marked the end of a troubled reign and the beginning of a new era under his young son, Henry III. The original crown jewels were never recovered, and their fate remains one of England's enduring mystery. The significance of the original crown jewels extends beyond their material value. They were symbols of the monarchy's divine right to rule the community of royal authority. Their loss during such a tumultuous period in English history only added to the aura of mystery and tragedy surrounding King John's reign. In the centuries that followed, the English monarchy replaced the lost regalia with new items. The current crown jewels housed in the Tower of London include pieces that date back to the restoration of Charles II in 1660. The original regalia was destroyed by Oliver Cromwell's parliamentarians during the English Civil War. These treasures continue to serve as symbols of the British monarchy, used in coronations, state openings of parliaments, and other ceremonial occasions. The story of the original crown jewel of England is a captivating tale of loss, legend, and royal intrigue. It reflects the turbulent times of King John's reign and the broader struggles for power and legitimacy that have shaped English history. While the treasures themselves remain lost in history, their legacy endures in the rich tapestry of England's royal heritage, a testament to the enduring allure of mystery and the enduring symbol of monarchy. Llewellyn's coronet, a symbol of Welsh independence and royal heritage, holds a significant place in the history of Wales, associated with Llewellyn ap Gruffudd, the last sovereign prince of Wales. The coronet represents a poignant reminder of Wales's struggle for autonomy against English domination. The fate of Llewellyn's coronet is intertwined with the broader narratives of Welsh resistance, conquest, and the eventual assimilation into the English crown. Llewellyn ap Gruffudd, also known as Llewellyn the Last, ruled as Prince of Wales from 1258 until his death in 1282. His reign was marked by efforts to consolidate the Welsh territory and assert independence from England. Despite numerous conflicts and negotiations, Llewellyn sought to maintain Welsh autonomy in the face of increasing pressure from the English crown, particularly from King Edward I. In 1277, following a series of military campaigns, Llewellyn was forced to submit to Edward I and sign a treaty of Aberconwy. This treaty significantly limited his power and reduced his territorial control. However, the tensions between Wales and England persisted, leading to further conflicts. In 1282, Llewellyn launched a final uprising against English rule, which ultimately led to his death in battle near Bullif Wells on December 11, 1282. The coronet of Llewellyn ap Gruffudd was not just a symbol of his rule, but also of Welsh sovereignty. After Llewellyn's death, the coronet, along with other royal artifacts, was seized by English forces. Edward I, determined to stamp out Welsh resistance, took these symbols of Welsh royalty to London. The coronet was placed in the treasury discovery of Westminster Abbey alongside the English crown jewels as a tangible sign of the subjugation of Wales. In 1303, during the reign of Edward I's son, Edward II, Westminster Abbey was subjected to a significant robbery. A group of robbers, including some of the abbey's own monks, managed to steal a considerable amount of treasure from the abbey's treasury. Among the stolen items were the coronet of Llewellyn Al Gruffudd and other royal artifacts. Although some of the treasures were eventually recovered, the coronet of Llewellyn was never found. The loss of Llewellyn's coronet remains shrouded in mystery and speculation. Its disappearance symbolises the loss of Welsh royal heritage and the assimilation of Wales into the English crown. Despite its loss, the coronet's legacy endures in Welsh culture and history as a symbol of resistance and the enduring spirit of Welsh independence. The story of Llewellyn's coronet is more than just a tale of the missing artifact. It is a reflection of the broader historical context into medieval Wales. The coronet represents the aspirations of a people for self-determination and the struggles to preserve their cultural identity in the face of external conquest. Llewellyn Al Gruffudd's efforts to maintain Welsh independence, although ultimately unsuccessful, left an undeniable mark on the history of Wales. Today, the legacy of Llewellyn and his coronet continues to resonate in Wales. The coronet, though lost, is remembered as a symbol of Welsh pride and resilience. It serves as a reminder of a time when Wales fought valiantly to maintain its sovereignty and cultural heritage. The story of Llewellyn's coronet is a poignant chapter in the history of Wales, encapsulating the enduring struggle for autonomy and the preservation of a distinct national identity. The tale of La Noche Triste, or The Night of Sorrows, is one of the most dramatic and tragic episodes in the Spanish conquest of the Aztec Empire. It occurred on the night of June the 30th to July the 1st, 1520, and was marked by the desperate escape of Spanish conquistadors from the Aztec capital of Tenochtitlan. This event is inextricably linked to the legendary lost treasure that the Spanish attempted to carry with them, only to lose it in the chaotic retreat. The story begins with Hernán Cortés, a Spanish conquistador who led an expedition that caused the fall of the Aztec Empire. After initially forging an uneasy alliance with the Aztecs, Cortés and his men found themselves in a precarious situation. Tensions had been building for months, exuberated by the capture of the Aztec Emperor Moctezuma II, who was taken hostage by the Spanish to ensure their safety and compliance. Despite these measures, the Spanish presence in Tenochtitlan became increasingly untenable. The Aztecs, under the leadership of Cuitlahua, Moctezuma's brother, grew more hostile. Their resentment culminated in a fierce uprising against the Spanish occupiers. Moctezuma, coerced into addressing his people in an attempt to quell the rebellion, was struck by stones and mortally wounded. His death further inflamed the situation, making the Spanish position in the city increasingly dangerous. Recognizing the dire circumstances, Cortés decided to flee the city under the cover of darkness. He planned the escape meticulously, intending to slip away during the night when the Aztec warriors would be less vigilant. On that fateful night, the Spanish, along with their Tlaxcalan allies, attempted to make their way out of Tenochtitlan across the causeways that connected the island city to the mainland. The Spanish carried with them vast amounts of treasure, including gold, silver, and precious stones. This wealth, accumulated through the plunder and as tribute from the Aztecs, was a significant burden. Despite Cortés's orders to leave the heavy treasures behind to facilitate a swift escape, many of his men, driven by greed, refused to comply. They loaded themselves with as much loot as they could carry, slowing their progress and making them vulnerable. As the Spanish and their allies made their way across the causeways, they were discovered by Aztec warriors. A fierce battle ensued, with the Aztecs launching relentless attacks from canoes and the causeway itself. The weight of the treasure and the narrow, exposed causeways made the Spanish retreat chaotic and deadly. Many Spaniards, weighed down by their plunder, fell into the waters of Lake Texcoco and drowned. Many were killed by Aztec warriors in a brutal melee. The retreat turned into a rout, with many Spaniards and their Tlaxcalan allies perishing in the escape. The causeways were littered with bodies and abandoned treasure. The once organized retreat retreat had devolved into a desperate struggle for survival. By the time the survivors reached the mainland, the Spanish had suffered significant casualties, and much of the treasure they sought to protect was lost to the lake. This night came to be known as La Noche Triste, or the Night of Sorrows, due to the heavy losses suffered by the Spanish. Cortez himself reportedly wept under a tree, lamenting the disastrous turn of events and the loss of so many men, so much wealth. Despite this setback, Cortez would eventually regroup, forming new alliances and returning to lay siege on Tenochtitlan, ultimately leading to the fall of the Aztec Empire in 1521. The lost treasure of La Noche Triste remains one of the great mysteries of the Spanish conquest. The gold, silver and jewels that sank into the waters of Lake Texcoco have never been fully recovered. Over the centuries, many treasure hunters and archaeologists have searched for the remains of this lost wealth, but it remains elusive, buried beneath layers of sediment and the passage of time. La Noche Triste stands as a poignant reminder of the cost of conquest and the fleeting nature of wealth. It encapsulates the tragic clash of civilizations and the human greed that often accompanies such encounters. The legend of the lost treasure endures, symbolizing the high stakes and profound consequences of the Spanish conquest of the Aztec Empire. The story of the lost Inca gold is one of the most compelling and enduring legends in the history of the Spanish conquest of the Americas. It revolves around the immense wealth of the Inca Empire and the dramatic events that unfolded following the arrival of the Spanish conquistadors, led by Francisco Pizarro. Central to this tale is the figure of Atahualpa, the last emperor of the Incas, whose capture and subsequent ransom demand set the stage for one of history's most tantalizing treasure mysteries. In the early 16th century, the Inca Empire was the largest and most sophisticated civilization in pre-Columbian America, stretching from modern-day Colombia to Chile. The Incas had amassed vast quantities of gold and silver, which were used not only for decorative and ceremonial purposes, but also as offerings to their god. This wealth, however, would soon attract the attention of European invaders. In 1532, Francisco Pizarro and his small band of conquistadors arrived in Inca territory. Despite being vastly outnumbered, the Spaniards managed to capture Atahualpa, and during the Battle of Cajamarca, realizing the value the Spaniards placed on gold, Atahualpa offered to fill a large room with gold and another with silver in exchange for his release. Pizarro agreed, and over the next several months, the Incas gathered an enormous amount of treasure from across the empire, including exquisite artifacts and religious items. The room was filled with gold up to the height of about 8 feet, while the adjoining room was filled twice over with silver. The treasure included intricately crafted statues, jewelry, and other items of immense cultural and monetary value. The ransom is estimated to be amounted at about 24 tons of gold and silver. Despite fulfilling the ransom demand, Atahualpa was not released. The Spanish, fearing a potential rebellion and seeing Atahualpa as a threat to their control over the region, ultimately executed him. This betrayal marked the beginning of the end for the Inca Empire, as the Spanish continued their campaign to conquer and subjugate the Inca people. The fate of the ransomed treasure is subject to much speculation and intrigue. While a significant portion of gold and silver was melted down and shipped to Spain, enriching the Spanish crown and contributing to the wealth of the conquistador, a considerable amount of treasure is believed to have been hidden or lost during the chaotic events that followed Atahualpa's execution. According to various legends, the Inca nobles, upon realizing the betrayal of the Spanish, decided to hide or relocate the remaining treasure to prevent it falling into enemy hands. Some accounts suggest that vast quantities of gold were secreted away in remote and inaccessible locations in the Andes Mountains, deep within caves or submerged in lakes. One particularly enduring legend is that of the lost Inca gold, which claims that the treasure was transported to a secret location known only by the few surviving Inca loyalists. Over the centuries, numerous expeditions have been launched in search of the lost Inca gold. Adventurers, archaeologists, and treasure hunters have scoured the Andean mountains, valleys, and jungles, driven by tales of hidden riches and the promise of untold wealth. Despite the efforts of many, the exact location of the treasure has remained elusive, fueling ongoing speculation manipulation and fascination. The story of the lost Inca gold is not only a tale of greed and betrayal, but also one of cultural loss and the devastating impact of European colonization on indigenous civilizations of the Americas. The Inca Empire's treasures were not merely valuable in monetary terms, they held deep religious and cultural significance. The loss of these artifacts represents a profound cultural tragedy, as priceless pieces of Inca heritage were either destroyed or disappeared. Today, the legend of the lost Inca gold continues to captivate the imagination. It serves as a symbol of rich history and heritage of the Inca civilization, as well as a reminder of the enduring mysteries that still lie hidden in the remote regions of South America. While the physical treasure may remain lost, the story itself is a valuable part of our collective history, shedding light on the complexities and consequences of the Spanish conquest of the New World. The Great Bell of Damarsadi is one of the most famous lost treasures in the history of Southwest Asia, imbued with both cultural significance and legendary mystery. Cast in 1484 by order of King Damarsadi of Mon Kingdom of Hanfawadi in what is now modern-day Myanmar, this bell is believed to be the largest bell ever made during its time, a symbol of the king's piety and dedication to Buddhism. King Damarsadi, originally a monk before ascending to the throne, was a ruler noted for his scholarly pursuits and devout religious faith. Under his reign, the kingdom experienced a period of peace and prosperity, and Buddhism flourished. In a grand gesture of devotion, Damarsadi decided to donate a massive bell to the Srudagon Padoga in Yangon, the most sacred Buddhist site in Myanmar. The bell was cast from an alloy of gold, silver and copper, and it is said that the precious metals, including gold and silver donated by the people, were added to the bronze to create the bell, totaling around 300 tons in weight. The Damarsadi bell was suspended within the Shwedadong Padoga complex, where it was used in various religious ceremonies, resonating with deep, sonorous tones that echoed the Buddhist chants and prayers. The bell's fate took a dramatic turn in 1608 when the Portuguese adventurer and mercenary Felipe de Brinto and Nicoet, who had declared himself the ruler of Syriam, present-day Fanlin near Yangon, decided to take the bell from Padoga. His intention was to melt it down and make cannons for defense for his fort at Syria. The removal of such a sacred object was met with outrage and despair by the local population, but De Brito proceeded with his plan, regardless of the sacrilegious implications. The bell was removed and transported towards Bago River to be taken by raft to Syria. However, the raft reportedly sank at the confluence of the Bago and Yangon rivers under the immense weight of the bell. According to local legend, the bell was cursed by the monks to protect it from being melted down, and its sinking was seen as a divine act to preserve its sanctity. Since its disappearance beneath the waters, the Great Bell of Damarsadi has become the stuff of legend, akin to the Holy Grail for underwater archaeologists and treasure hunters. Numerous attempts have been made to locate and raise the bell, driven by both the potential historical significance and the rumoured value of its material. These expeditions, however, have been met with little success, hindered by the slit and shifting channels of the river, which have likely buried the bell deep beneath layers of mud. The search for the Great Bell of Damarsadi is not just about recovering a valuable artifact, it is also about reclaiming a significant piece of Myanmar's history, cultural heritage. The bell symbolises a time when devotion and respect for religious traditions shaped the actions of monarchs and guided the lives of the people. Its recovery would not only be a historical triumph, but also a spiritual restoration, as the bell holds deep religious significance for the Buddhist community in Myanmar. To this day, the story of the Great Bell of Damarsadi continues to capture the imagination of the people of Myanmar and around the world. It remains a poignant reminder of Myanmar's rich historical tapestry and the enduring power of faith and tradition in shaping the destinies of nations. The mystery of the bell's location keeps alive the hopes that one day it might be found and returned to its rightful place at Srudagon Padoga, resuming its role as a venerable icon of religious devotion. The Three Brothers is a historically significant and magnificent piece of jewellery that has passed through the hands of numerous European monarchs, bankers and nobles since its creation in 1389. The jewel, named for its 3 large red spinels set on a triangular arrangement around a central diamond, is famed not only for its stunning craftsmanship, but also for its colourful history. The jewel was first crafted for Charles VI of France, and became a celebrated piece in the treasury of the French crown. Its design featured 3 large, deep red spinels, stones that were often mistaken for rubies in the medieval period, surrounded by a cluster of smaller diamonds, which accentuate the central, significantly larger diamond. The brothers in the piece's name refers to the 3 main spinels, which are of similar size and appearance, suggesting a familial bond or their unity in their arrangement. Over the centuries, the 3 brothers passed through various hands, each adding to the legend and prestige of the piece. It was owned by Duke John the Fearless of Burgundy, who acquired it either through purchase or as a royal gift. Following his death, the jewel moved through the possession of different members of the Burgundian court, becoming a symbol of power and wealth. In the early 16th century, the jewel entered the holdings of the infamous German banker Jacob Fugger, known as Jacob the Rich, who at one point was considered one of the wealthiest men in Europe. Mr. Fugger's possession of the jewel signified its immense power and influence, which extended beyond finance to royal and papal courts across Europe. The 3 brothers returned to royal circles when it was purchased by Queen Elizabeth I of England. Under Elizabeth, the jewel adorned the regal attire that became synonymous with her reign, symbolising not only the wealth of the English crown, but also the Queen's personal taste for its opulence. It is reported that Elizabeth wore the jewel during an important diplomatic receptions and royal portraits, embedding it further into the fabric of Tudor monarchy and imagery. The jewel remained with the English crown, but its trail becomes murkier after the execution of Charles I and the subsequent abolition of the monarchy during the English Civil War. It is believed that during this period of turmoil, many crown jewels were sold, lost or destroyed. The 3 brothers was likely sold off by the wife of Charles I, Henrietta Maria, in an effort to raise funds during the family's exile. What became of the 3 brothers after its sale is largely unknown. Its last recorded sighting was around 1645, and since then it has vanished from all records. The disappearance of such a notable artifact has sparked numerous theories and legends, suggesting that it might still exist, unrecognized or possibly altered in a private collection, or perhaps lost to history entirely. The story of the 3 brothers is emblematic of the turbulent history of European monarchy, where the jewels and artifacts were not just symbols of wealth and status, but also tools of diplomacy and even collateral in times of financial necessity. The 3 brothers not only illustrates the flow of valuable artifacts through the hands of various historical figures, but also underscores the cultural and historical significance that such pieces hold, far beyond their intrinsic material value. Today, while the physical jewel may be lost, the stories continue to fascinate historians, jewelers, and treasure hunters around the world, embodying a rich tapestry of European history. Amaro Prago, born Amaro Rodriguez Felipe y Tejera Machado, was one of the most famous and successful privateers of the 18th century, hailing from the Canary Islands. Known for his exploits at sea, Prago was equally renowned for his legends surrounding his hidden treasure, which continues to captivate treasure hunters and historians alike. Born in San Cristobal de la Laguna on Tenerife, Amaro Prago quickly rose to prominence through his activities in the Caribbean and the Atlantic, operating under the letter of Marquis from the Spanish crown. This allowed him legally to attack and loot enemy ships, primarily during the War of the Spanish Succession and beyond. His success at sea brought him considerable wealth, part of which he invested in charitable and religious endeavours on his home island of Tenerife. The legend of Amaro Prago's treasure stems from his dual life as both a respected citizen and a fearless privateer. It is said that over the years, Prago amassed a considerable amount of wealth, which included gold, silver and jewels, and other valuable items collected from his numerous conquests. The exact amount and nature of this treasure have been subject to much speculation, as detailed records of his loot were never made public, and Prago was known to be secretive about his wealth. According to local law, and some historical accounts. Prago never fully disclosed the locations where he hid his treasure. Speculation suggested that much of it was buried or hidden in various locations around the Canary Islands, particularly around Tenerife. Some stories suggest that parts of his treasure were concealed in caves or along rocky coastlines, where others believe it might be hidden within his mansion or on his grounds in La Laguna. One of the most interesting aspects of Amaro Prago's treasure legend involves his relationship with the church. Prago was a devout Catholic and made significant donations to the church, which some speculate may have included part of his treasure. He was particularly close with Sister Maria de Jesus, known as La Vita, a nun considered for sainthood, whose body remains incorrupt in the convent of Santa Catalina in La Laguna. This connection to religious figures has led to theories that some of the treasure could be hidden within the religious sites in Tenerife. Amaro Prago died in 1747 and was buried in the church of Santo Domingo in San Cristobal de la Laguna. He left behind a will that details some of his possessions, but made no mention of the vast treasure that legend claims he possessed. This has led many to believe that much of his wealth was indeed hidden and remains undiscovered. In recent years, there have been several expeditions and searches aimed at uncovering the lost treasure of Amaro Prago. These efforts have been fueled by the discovery of old documents, maps, and accounts that are believed to point to the possible locations of the treasure. Yet despite these efforts, no significant findings have been made, and the treasure of Amaro Prago remains one of the most inciting unsolved mysteries of the Canary Islands. The story of Amaro Prago's treasure is a fascinating blend of historical fact and local folklore, capturing the imagination of those who hear it. Whether or not the treasure exists, or will it ever be found, the legend of Amaro Prago continues to enhance the cultural heritage of Tenerife and the mystique of one of the most colourful historical figures. The Loch Arkaig treasure, also known as the Jacobite gold, is a significant piece of Scottish history, intertwined with Jacobite uprisings of the 18th century. This treasure, a large sum of gold coins, was sent from France to aid the Jacobite cause, but mysteriously disappeared, leading to centuries of speculation, treasure hunts and folklore. In 1745, Charles Edward Stuart, known as Bonnie Prince Charlie, landed in Scotland to reclaim the British throne for his father, James Francis Edward Stuart, from the Hanoverian King George II. This marked the beginning of the Jacobite risings of 1745, a significant and ultimately unsuccessful attempt to restore the Stuart line to the British throne. To support this effort, the French King Louis XV, whose own claim to the throne was linked by bloodline to the Stuarts, sent a shipment of gold coins to Scotland. The gold was intended to pay for troops, supplies and general support of the Jacobite army. In April 1746, the treasure was landed at the Loch Arkaig, a remote loch in the Scottish Highlands. The treasure reportedly amounted to about £5,000 at the time, a substantial sum which today would be worth several £1,000,000. The exact fate of the Loch Arkaig treasure remains shrouded in mystery. After the decisive defeat of the Jacobite forces at the Battle of Culloden in April 1746, the movement's leaders were scattered and the organisational structure of the rebellion collapsed. The treasure, hidden somewhere near Loch Arkaig, became a subject of contention amongst the surviving Jacobite leaders. It is believed that the portions of the treasure were distributed to various clan chiefs who had supported the Jacobite cause. However, allegations of misappropriation and theft abounded. One of the most notable figures associated with the treasure was Ewan Macpherson of Cluny, also known as Cluny Macpherson, the chief of the clan Macpherson. Cluny was one of Prince Charles Edward Stuart's most trusted supporters and is believed to have been one of the last caretakers of the remaining treasure. After the defeat at Culloden, Cluny went into hiding and lived for 9 years in a specially constructed hiding place known as Cluny's Cage. During this time, he allegedly managed to remain the remaining treasure, although the details of how much he dispersed or kept hidden are unclear. Over the years, numerous attempts have been made to locate the Loch Arkaig treasure. Treasure hunters, historians and enthusiasts have scoured the area of Loch Arkaig, fueled by various rumours, maps and supposed deathbed confessions regarding the treasure's location. Despite these efforts, no confirmed trace of the treasure has ever been found. The story of Loch Argyll's treasure has become a legendary tale in Scottish folklore. It symbolises lost hopes of the Jacobite court and the enduring mystery of its final support from France. Whether still hidden in the rugged landscapes of the Highlands, spent in the aftermath of the rebellion, or stolen and melted down, the treasure remains a fascinating historical enigma. The legend of Loch Argyll treasure continues to captivate the people, not only for its historical significance, but also for the romance of the Jacobite rebellion, a poignant chapter in Scottish history that evokes themes of loyalty, betrayal, and the unquenchable desire for freedom and sovereignty. The Sceptre of Dagobert is a remarkable artifact from early medieval France, steeped in the lore of the Merovingian dynasty. Its history is as rich and complex as the turbulent era from which it emerged. Believed to have been crafted in the 7th century, the sceptre was part of the French regalia and was associated with Dagobert I, one of the most powerful Merovingian kings, who reigned from 629 to 639 AD. Dagobert I is remembered for his efforts to consolidate royal power, his patronage for the arts, and his expansion of the Frankish kingdom. He was also a notable benefactor of the church, and his reign marked a significant period in the development of the French monarchy's relationship with religious institutions. The sceptre, named after him, symbolises this strong alliance between the church and the state during the early medieval period. The Sceptre of Dagobert was reportedly made of solid gold and adorned with precious gemstones, making it a masterpiece of Merovingian craftsmanship. Its design likely featured intricate carvings and symbols representing the king's divine right to rule, typical of regalia from this period. As part of the French royal treasures, the sceptre was not only a symbol of temporal authority, but also a sacred object used in the coronation ceremonies of French kings. For centuries, the sceptre was kept at the Basilica of Saint Denis near Paris, which served as a burial place for French monarchs. The basilica was a fitting home for the sceptre, giving its historical association to the Merovingian dynasty and its role as a religious and political landmark. However, the Sceptre of Dagobert, along with many other royal artifacts, disappeared under mysterious circumstances. The most notable loss occurred during the French Revolution, a time when the revolutionary fervor led to a ransacking of royal and religious sites across France. In 1795, the Basilica of Saint Denis was targeted by revolutionaries who looted the treasury and desecrated royal tombs. Many items were stolen, destroyed, or melted down for their precious metal, and the Sceptre of Dagobert was amongst the treasures that went missing. Since its disappearance, the whereabouts of the Sceptre of Dagobert have remained a mystery. No conclusive evidence of its survival has ever been found, leading many to believe that it was destroyed during the upheaval of the revolution. Despite this, the sceptre continues to hold its place in French historical lore, emblematic of the nation's rich and often tumultuous history. The loss of the Sceptre of Dagobert is not merely a tale of its stolen artifact. It represents a broader narrative about the cultural and political shifts that have shaped France. The disappearance of such an emblematic object highlights the vulnerability of cultural heritage, especially during periods of social and political strife. Today, the story of the Sceptre of Dagobert serves as a poignant reminder of the heritage that can be lost in the times of change, and the enduring legacy of France's royal past. For historians, the treasure, and treasure hunters alike, the sceptre remains a symbol of a bygone era, its legend enduring in the annals of French history. Whether it still exists hidden away or was indeed melted down, the Sceptre of Dagobert continues to be a subject of fascination and speculation. The Oak Island Money Pit is one of the most enduring and tantalizing mysteries in the history of treasure hunting. Located on a small wooden island off the coast of Nova Scotia, Canada, this site has been the focus of treasure hunters for over 200 years, drawn by legends of hidden pirate treasure, ancient artifacts, and even connections to Shakespearean manuscripts and the Knights Templar. The story of the Oak Island Money Pit begins in 1795 when a teenager named Daniel McGuinness discovered a circular circular depression in the ground while exploring the island. Intrigued by local pirate legends and the peculiar markings on trees nearby, Mr. McGinnis and friends began excavating the site. As they dug, they discovered a layer of flagstones a few feet below the surface, and then several platforms made of oak logs at regular intervals down a shaft. The further down they dug, the more structured and seemingly booby-trapped the pit appeared, with water flooding in from mysterious channels when they reached about 90 feet. This initial discovery set off a treasure hunt that has lasted over 2 centuries, involving dozens of expeditions and a multitude of companies, each driven by the belief that something of immense value lies buried deep beneath the island. Over the years, searchers have found tantalizing clues: a slab stone with a mysterious inscription, bits of a gold chain, a parchment, and more oak platforms at depths reaching 200 feet. Despite these finds, no substantial treasure has ever been unearthed. The theories about what might be hidden in Oak Island Pit are as varied as the search efforts themselves. Some believe that the pit contains pirate treasure hidden from Captain Kidd or Blackbeard, given the island's proximity to their known operating routes. Others speculate that it might hold the lost manuscripts of William Shakespeare, or even the Holy Grail or the Ark Covenant, purportedly hidden by the Knights Templar. One of the most compelling pieces of evidence linked to these theories is the so-called 90-foot stone, a large stone slab found at a depth in the pit bearing an inscribed code. When translated, some claims it reads 40 feet below, £2 million lies buried. This stone and its inscription, however, has since been lost, adding another layer of mystery and skepticism to the legend. The countless excavations and attempts to secure the pit have not only failed to yield a treasure, but also have been marked by tragedy and failure. 6 people have died in accidents during various recovery efforts, and millions of dollars have been sunk into the ground without return. The pit itself has collapsed on multiple occasions, and the site is now a crisscross mess of boreholes, shafts, and flooded tunnels. Today, the Oak Island mystery continues to be explored, fueled by new technologies and a popular television series of The Curse of Oak Island, which chronicles the adventures of modern treasure hunters on the island. Despite numerous setbacks, the allure of the Oak Island money pit remains undiminished, a testament to the enduring appeal of hidden treasure and the human spirit's relentless pursuit of the unknown. Whether the Oak Island money pit contains treasure or is merely an elaborate natural sinkhole misinterpreted by generations of treasure hunters, the legend persists, a captivating enigma of the lost wealth and unquenchable curiosity. The Treasure of Esperanza is an enthralling tale filled with piracy, shipwreck, and hidden treasure that dates back to the early 19th century. It revolves around the Spanish brigantine Esperanza, which met its fate on the remote and uninhabited Palmyra Atoll in the central Pacific Ocean. According to historical accounts and lore, the Esperanza was laden with a vast treasure when it departed from the Viceroyalty of Peru, now modern-day Peru. The treasure was purported to consist of 1.5 million gold pesos and an equivalent value of silver, along with precious artifacts including pre-Columbian art and religious items made of gold and silver. The cargo represented a significant portion of the colonial wealth extracted from South America, intended for transport to Spain. The narrative takes a dramatic turn when the Esperanza, navigating through the Pacific in 1816, was captured by a group of pirates. The pirates, aware of the brigantine's valuable cargo, took control of the vessel. However, lacking navigational skill or encountering a severe storm, accounts vary. The pirates found themselves off course and untimely shipwrecked on Palmyra Atoll. The pirates, now stranded, were said to have buried the treasure on the atoll. The fate of the pirates themselves remains a mystery, with some accounts suggesting they perished on the island or were later rescued only to be lost to history. What remains consistent in all versions of the story is that the treasure was never recovered and is believed to still be hidden somewhere on Palmyra. Over the years, the treasure of Esperanza has ignited the imagination of treasure hunters and adventurers. The remote location of Palmyra Atoll, combined with the logistical challenges and legal restrictions associated with accessing and conducting searches on what is now a US wildlife refuge, has hindered efforts to locate locate the treasure. The atoll was privately owned for many years before being transferred to Nature Conservancy and later becoming part of the National Monument, which further complicates any potential recovery efforts. Despite these challenges, the tale of Esperanza's treasure continues to attract interest. Various expeditions have been undertaken, some fueled by historical research and others by mere speculation. The modern treasure hunters, equipped with sophisticated technology, continue to be drawn by the allure of the lost treasure, although no credible evidence of its existence has ever been documented. The story of the treasure of the Esperanza encapsulates the quintessential treasure hunt, complete with pirates, a shipwreck, and an elusive treasure still waiting to be found. It speaks to the broader allure of undiscovered riches hidden around the world, which continue to inspire stories, expeditions, and dreams of fortune. Whether fact or embellished legend, the treasure of Esperanza remains one of the greatest unsolved treasure mysteries of the Pacific.